Hi. How are you? I don't know if we met. You might know me. A lot of my friends probably listening or watching on YouTube. My name is Lisa C. Jablonski, and I am a former newspaper reporter. I am a former high school teacher. I am a former waitress, Hollywood waitress, I might add. Um, I'm a former stand-up comedian, and I am also very moody. So for years now, I've been trying to start up a podcast because I really enjoy having a type of radio format to talk to people. Um, Lisa Field's podcast has been in my brain for a while. People haven't really understood what the name was about. But like I said, I am very moody, but I'm also not narcissistic. Just because I have a mood doesn't mean that I'm not willing to talk to other people about what they're feeling too. And I hope that comes across in Lisa Field's podcast. The first episode that you are going to listen to today is with my friend Joseph Ortega, and he was my classmate back in Moreno Valley, California at Canyon Springs High School. We were both class of 96. And when I decided that I was going to finally get this podcast out, I decided the first episode was going to be Lisa talks about being sober because I haven't had anything to drink in the new year of 2023. So me and Joey go at it, not fight. We just talk and chat about recovery because Joey is also in recovery from a drug of choice, which we talk about. The only thing that I will tell you is if you are listening, you may not see what type of shirt he's wearing. So he is wearing a shirt at the beginning of the episode that says, "Don't ask me, I'm drunk and high." And it's sort of a joke, a play on words because we're talking about recovery and being clean. So he's being funny. The second thing I should add is we do talk about two Christies in this podcast. Those Christies are both classmates from Canyon Springs High School, except one is Chris Christie, class of 97, and the other is Christy Blake, class of 96. So when you hear the two terms Christy, because I call Chris Christy, just don't get confused. It's pretty obvious who they are. But like I said, it was a pleasure to talk to Joey. Thank you, Joey, for coming on my podcast and helping me kick this off. I hope that this is a lot of fun. I hope that you guys listen to this show or watch the show on YouTube and you understand that it's okay to be who you are, no matter what you feel, no matter what you do. Joey and I talk about the ups and downs of being sober and being clean. And Joey doesn't like the word sober, but that's okay with me because I'm thinking I don't like that word either. And you'll find out more why. So sit back and listen. I hope you enjoy Lisa Feels Sober. I figure we'll talk and catch up a little bit and then we'll kind of just go. I haven't even decided the format, but I think I'm going to do kind of like Mark Maron's format. Do you ever listen to his?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
So he actually, he does he has like a little talk at the beginning of it and then he has his guest and he talk. So I think it's going to kind of be like that. Sure. And did you ever see the video I wrote Mark Maron a letter when I was in school? Did you ever see that video where I wrote him a letter when he hosted a show on Comedy Central? He hosted a show on Comedy Central and it was called Short Attention Span Theater. Do you remember that show?
No,
I don't remember it. So I'm such a big nerd, but I just wrote him a bunch of letters all the time. And I wrote him one time about he had a stapler on his desk. And I said he should pay attention to a stapler. It's probably lonely. And he read that letter. And I showed it to everybody at Canyon. They laughed at it.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a huge dork. I'm kind of a stalker, I guess.
I mean, you were just ahead of the curve because that's what we all do now on all the social media apps, right? Like we follow them religiously. We get notifications of every post or their live streaming events, and
yeah.
You were just ahead of the curve. You're ahead of the times.
I was back in the day when you had to, pick up the phone and dial. And yeah, I was, yeah, I wrote him a bunch of letters. But yeah, I used to write letters to lots of shows on Comedy Central because I would watch that obsessively. So I got a couple read on Stand Up by Laura Keitlinger. Do you know who she is?
Oh, wow. I remember Laura Keitlinger. Yeah.
It was fun. It was a good time. So it's good to see you. You look good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a long road. Huh?
What's with your shirt though? Let me see your shirt.
I thought this would be fun for the show. I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Pera. He has a show on Adult Swim. It's gentle comedy, so it's like it's not the punch you in the dick comedy. It's like just real subtle but hilarious stuff. And he had a show out here, and so me and my one of my kids who watched the show with me went out
Hmm.
to go see him, and I picked this up at the concert. So
That's
I love
cute.
it because they actually have it's kind of a visual gag in the series
Hmm.
where his girl he gets this a shirt for his girlfriend, and this is the shirt.
It's cute. I
It's
like it.
ironic because I'm not usually drunk and or high.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, we're gonna talk about that.
I felt it was a good time. And yeah.
Good icebreaker. Yeah. No, I can see that. Oh, you
Mhm.
froze. Are you there? Because you froze for a second.
Yeah, I'm here.
You froze on my screen. Can you see me moving?
I can.
You can. Oh, there you go. Now you're back. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this topic of the show is Lisa feels sober. So I started not drinking. I decided I was gonna not drink in the new year. So now it's what is it? February, end of February.
26.
Yeah,
Yeah.
26 end of February. So but I have cheated. So it probably should be called Lisa's kinda sober. But I just kind of noticed I was drinking too much to escape. And I thought, well, this doesn't seem healthy. And
Mhm.
since I haven't gotten this podcast out and I talked to you on Facebook and you've mentioned some of your journey, I thought it might be fun to talk about because it's an
Yeah.
interesting topic. So tell me, you're sober now, correct?
So
Technically.
I so this is the deal. I am clean for my
Hmm.
drug of choice.
Okay.
I feel that sober is one of these loaded terms that is given uh, sort of a false equivalency. It's a principle that is widely misunderstood. Like you're never really sober, right? You're taking something. You're having coffee right now. Let's say there's caffeine. You're having a soda. There's caffeine. You're having a smoke. That's you're getting the nicotine. You're getting all kinds of different things that are affecting your mind, body, whatever. So I hate the word sober. And it was actually one of my hangups when it came to getting clean was this idea of sobriety and the idea of sober. And I hated it. So I was like, that'll never be me. Fuck that. I'm going
Hmm.
to be, if I have to, I'll do something else, but I'm never going to be sober. So personally, that the language of that was charged for me. Much like the misplaced energy and attentions of the word or term virginity, right? It's like it's not really a thing, so maybe we should stop saying it, type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So I don't like sober, and I will argue to the death on that. But
Okay.
my journey to get clean was for my drug of choice, and I'm actually going on over 9 years, and
Wow.
that was the way I like to see it is that was the last time that I used it
Hmm.
because there's a for addiction issues, which I think are different than substance abuse issues. It tends to be, in my opinion, you know, you're never safe, you're never done, you're just done for now. And so that in my head, I can reserve that maybe there I can romanticize it a little bit, and that's okay for me because it's that little bit of escapism that gives me that room to say, well, if maybe there will be a certain circumstance where like I'm in the hospital and somebody's like, you quick, you have to take these drugs in order to get through the next 24 hours or something. I'll be like, dope, let's do it. And then I get an excuse to take my drug of choice, and then I'm
Yeah.
happily on my way with
Yeah.
no consequence or repercussion. So
Yeah.
I have that little fantasy. So I'm just done for now, and it's happened to last 9 years, and that was
Gotcha.
really the only way I could get into any sort of longevity. For me,
Hmm.
one day at a time wasn't really didn't really work for me. So like the popular NA or AA credo wasn't wasn't working for my, focus. And then I ended up just kind of getting away from it, because I ran out and I knew that the consequences would be bad if I went and got more. It just happened to be this one particular time it stuck.
Uh-huh.
So I had quit bunches of times before, you know,
Hmm.
dozens, maybe hundreds of times. I don't know. I didn't keep track, but
Okay, can we
um,
pause for a sec? Because you've telling me
sure,
this, but you haven't even told me what the drug of choice was. I don't even
sure.
know.
It's
What
crystal
was it?
meth. I used,
Crystal meth. Oh my
yeah,
Lord. When
I
did you
love,
start? When did you
I
start?
love smoking crystal meth.
Uh-huh.
And I started, that particular drug of choice, that decision or whatever you want to call it, that addiction particularly
Hmm.
started right around eighth grade. Um, I had started abusing, my chemical abuse story started in like
Yeah.
elementary school.
Hmm.
And so like in the fifth grade, I was stealing gin from my dad's dad and my grandpa's house
Yeah.
and storing it in like my hairspray bottle, and I would take it home and I would
Yeah.
pound like this old, the airplane bottles of Beefeater gin, and I hated it, but it made me feel funny. Um,
Yeah.
and then starting in like the seventh grade, started drinking really heavily. And then
Hmm.
by the eighth grade, I was smoking weed and then, doing other things. And it was just like a snowball from there.
Can we take a
So,
pause for a sec on what you're saying?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any memories? Because I think I have vague memories of you in at seventh grade. We knew each
Yeah.
other around that time, right?
Eighth. Eighth. Yeah. I moved from a different school, and I started Vista at eighth grade first day. So I was
Okay.
there then. I kind of came in and everybody already had their little cliques and their established groups of friends. And
Hmm.
I kind of slid in adjacent to the one that you were in, and I saw you in, I want to say, most of my classes, because we were in like the advanced classes together with, I
Oh,
forget
score.
the.
Awesome. Because I don't even remember any of it. So
Oh really? Yeah, I
I don't
remember
remember.
a lot. I
Really?
that Yeah, I guess maybe that's a side effect of a focus drug, but yeah, I remember a lot of everything.
Well, tell me something you
And then
remember.
lots of gaps.
Yeah, tell me something you remember, even if it's high school. Because I remember like, okay, let me see if I can share this picture. Let me share this picture. You had it on your Facebook recently. Let's see if I can share
Sure.
it. Share screen. I'm trying because I never do this. So let's see. Oh, do share. Do you see that?
It's coming. Any minute now, I should see it.
Oh, here we go. I have no idea what I'm doing. So we must have done a lot of Zoom meetings during the COVID time.
Yeah,
Do
that
you see
picture
the?
is funny story.
Yeah,
That's a picture where I'm on acid.
that's what you said. It said Friday, flashback Friday, courtesy of my dad, photo at Nancy's house, not pictures, Stephanie and my brain deeply frying on acid.
Deeply.
But
Very.
like I see this picture, like I don't know why I don't remember much of school. I think it was a traumatic experience for me.
Sure.
I think I just had to survive, but I do have vague recollections. And when I see you in that ponytail, I remember just a nice warm feeling of familiarity of school. When I see
Uh-huh.
that, I go, yeah, that's Joey. I remember Joey, but I wish I had more memories. We must have been in all the advanced math classes and advanced English classes together, right?
Yep. Although, let's see. So from, I think it was Miss Landry in science from eighth grade,
Wow.
and I don't remember any other teachers, but then we got into things like Mr. Peters's English class,
Oh, Mr.
and
Peters.
yeah, lots of other classes like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so I memories of you. Let's see. I distinctly remember you being at or near the art nerds and the thespians. I
Remember that.
remember, I can't remember their name, but it was Aaron something.
Aaron Washburn.
Yeah, that's what it
Mm-hmm.
was. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't mean to presume anybody's pronouns, so I'm trying to be
She's a they now,
respectful.
by the way. She's a they. Yeah.
Yes, good. I had a feeling, so I just wanted to be respectful.
Yeah, she's super cool.
Um,
Mhm. Well,
Awesome.
they are super cool, I
They are
should
super
say.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I remember for you specifically, and this may be a misdirection of a memory, but I want to say low top docks. Like, did you
You
ever
mean like
have like green or purple or black Like,
Probably. Yeah, I think I had BK nights or B something like that. BK, when they
oh, okay.
BK nights, and I was a Converse freak in high school, so it was all
All
about
right.
Converse. But I think I was always dorky. I think I always had like the jeans kind of up over my pants. I had no style
Yeah,
whatsoever and low tops.
sure. It
You
was
were
the
way
90s. I
cooler.
mean, the rules for style were pretty thin as it was. So,
You were way cooler, and you were doing, I mean, I started drinking a little bit when I was in middle school as well. We should have hooked up on that end because I don't even remember any of those stories with you.
yeah, I got into a lot of it at school. Never got caught. That was kind of my thing, was that
Hmm.
I could do it and I could sell drugs and I could never get caught. And that
Did that.
continued into my adult years. Yeah, I sent people to the hospital and from over and people were overindulging on what I would sell to them. And I
Oh,
had a
geez.
you know I had a pretty good time actually in high school. A lot of people tell these horror stories of how awful it was, but it was a transformative time for me in a positive way. And I was very good at finding ways to break or bend the rules. So like
Mhm.
I would often find myself skipping classes, still getting an A+ in the class, going over and spending, 6 periods a day in the arts and humanities area. So, I'm doing like all electives or whatever, and bunking off and coming in late and just ditching completely, drinking at school, bringing, I don't know if you remember in the 90s, they used to have this vodka that was like fluorescent green, and it was like sometimes lime flavored, sometimes not. And
Yeah.
I would bring it in Sprite bottles, and so like I just get fucking shitty all day
Yeah.
long. And
You are seriously, you are triggering things in my head because I must have seen it and you guys were laughing and I was thinking Mountain Dew and you guys laughed. Because I'm
yeah,
like having this memory and it somehow I remember that green liquid and I'm like, wow. So I don't know.
yeah,
It's funny though.
and smoking at school. We my groups tended to hang out in the cave area, right outside of the one of
Library?
the double doors for the. It was, yeah. So like there's the
I
drama.
know exactly. In Canyon or Vista?
Yeah, Canyon.
Canyon,
We
it
would
was
end
right
up
because
over
I
there by
taught
Miss
there.
Wally's room.
Yeah, I taught there. So the teachers' lounge, there's like a big patio ledge, and it's right underneath. There's some stairs. So you guys probably hung out there. The double doors by the office and the nurse's office. So it's right over there, kind of that area.
It
Don't you think?
was it was facing the well, I don't know if any of this stuff is still there, but it was facing the quad. There was
Hmm.
like basically two big
Yes.
entrances to get into the whatever the theater is called. And I don't even know if that's still there, but basically it
The
was just
drama
like this,
theater or the
yeah, like
office?
the actual drama, like where they would put on the
Okay,
plays.
yeah. So that was so there's the big pit right in the middle. That one, the
Yeah,
big
we
pit.
were we were like facing that big quad area
Okay.
and underneath this overhanging thing, and we would just,
Yeah. Yeah.
fuck
I'm
around over
picturing in
there.
my head. Isn't it weird how the high school like sticks in our head like that? It's this place that
Yeah.
we will forever. Yeah. When I taught there, it was weird. It was just this weird sense of, it's like being on the set of a sitcom or something that you watch over and over again. You just,
Right, I can imagine. And everything might even be a little bit smaller or bigger than you remember. I
yeah. Yeah.
can
It's
I
interesting.
can put
It's
myself
interesting.
there for sure. But
It's
yeah,
interesting.
so I was a fucking rascal, and but I was good at it and I never got caught. And that led into my adult years too. And I had many, many, many close calls with, the cops and with my parents and family, my significant other, and even when I got old enough to have kids, that was a thing that I was still sneaking around doing.
Hmm.
And it became a real way of life for me. But the addiction part of it, where it was not just substance abuse, it was, I cannot quit this despite negative repercussions. That once I crossed that into that line, uh,
Yeah.
it that was quite a bit different than just, I'm gonna have 4 beers a night or something like that.
Mhm.
It was a bit out of control. But then, I did, like I said, I got lucky about 9 years ago. Quit that for the last time, and then I would drink a little bit.
What brought that on though, the quitting? Because you said that you came to a point where you realized that it was just not, it was not working out. It's not causing you,
Yeah,
But what brought that? What brought that on? What was the time, the moment where you decided
Years,
not to do it?
years of wanting to stop,
Okay.
years of knowing that I couldn't do it forever. But you've got sort of a rational self, and you've got your addict mind, and the addict mind is very different. But when I'm thinking, with clarity, and I'm like, I can't do this, my kids and all this other stuff. I'm losing jobs and other really important things. My marriage certainly ended. That was a big contributor to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was like, I don't have good relationships. I don't have, and none of this. What I had was what I wanted, and I needed to kind of get out of that. The momentum, the thing that really pushed me over the edge this particular time, back in January, February of 2013, that was it 13, 14.
It's probably 14, yeah.
Yeah, that is that I, I finally had something to lose again. So I had gone through, like, my rock bottom had lasted years, and I had gotten fortunate enough to get back into a position where I could have things again. I could,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, afford a place for myself, and I could pay for, my kids to have things, and not just have like the dollar store Christmas, type of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
it became at that point more of not a matter of life and death, because I was never really scared of dying or death in that way, but it was more about the hell on earth that I was sick of. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, it took that to kind of move me into the position and the mindset to say, like, okay, we ran out, and I can get more, but it's not as easy as I would like. And everybody around me knows about it now, because at this point I had begun my honesty journey, because you can't get clean without being honest. And that
Yeah.
includes being honest with yourself. And so it took me a long time, like years, decades, before I was actually honest with myself. And then I started being honest with people around me in the last like 2 years or whatever. And that's when things really changed a lot for me. And
Mm-hmm.
when I could have that secret's gone,
Mm-hmm.
and I could kind of be accountable now. You know what I mean? It's like my whole life changed when I started being honest. And it made it so that quitting was an option, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, when I was being dishonest with everybody around me, it was, I could stop, but I wasn't quitting. And it was very short lived and very unsuccessful.
And
So
this was all with crystal meth, right? Or was it
yeah.
booze as well? It's mostly
Well,
meth.
yeah, booze too. Booze goes with it. If you
Mm-hmm.
really want to have fun, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably I kind of have a rule. I'm kind of manic, and I'm obviously a bit of a manic depressive. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But when it comes to drugs, I usually stay away from things like that, speed and all that. Booze was my drug of choice because it just kind of, just an even kill. You could feel the floor, when you have a drink.
Mhm.
Whereas all that other stuff, even pot, I just, I've been
You're away.
experimenting. You're just floating away. And for me, I mean, I
Yeah.
float away naturally. So for
Right.
me, when I do that, I just don't know which end is up. So yeah,
You
so
need to be
I
a little bit more tethered.
yeah, so yeah,
Tethered to the
so
ground.
but I can see the appeal of crystal meth. I mean, honestly, not that it's a good thing, but something that can get us to hyper focus is great. But of course, what happens
Yeah.
is you start doing it, and that's not what's happening at all. You're not ace in math
Right.
classes. You're not, you're,
Right. You're turning in your masterpiece, and it's like
yeah.
none of these words are English. So
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
yeah,
No.
it's funny, and also the time that you borrow, really, you have to pay it back later. So
Okay.
it's like, it's there's this old Native American saying about the daylight savings, how only a white man can think that you can cut the top of a blanket off and sew it to the bottom of a blanket and think you have more blanket. It's kind of like that, but with your life.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
includes your focus, it includes your sleep. So if you're doing it to get those extra hours in, or to get that extra focus, well, guess what, you're going to get less focus later, you're going to get less you're gonna get more sleep later, which is probably the opposite of what you want, especially if you're, trying to be on your grind or whatever. I had all these excuses about why I needed it and why I felt like it was my superpower to help me through complicated technical stuff with work, or it was because I had a 3-hour commute each way to work and back. So I'm spending like 5-6 hours a day on the road and on top of my 12-hour work shift. And so I was like, I need it. You know what I mean? Like these were the excuses. Turns out that it actually, I knew it, but I didn't want to admit it because, again, the honesty part. So I'm in heavy denial about like, oh, I'm killing it and stuff. And they're like, you got to go, guy. You're fucking fired. So I'm like, well, maybe I didn't do a good job. But they probably saw it wrong. They started victimizing me. It was always all these other reasons and excuses why I wasn't accountable to it because I wasn't being honest. But yeah, so it's
just stop there. So wait, because we're telling a lot. So you got fired. You got
multiple
fired.
times.
A couple times? Well, we all get fired. But was this a direct
No,
relation
like
to
a lot directly
Okay.
related to my performance, me not being there because I was out somewhere in my car smoking crystal meth and disappearing during the workday for extended periods of time. And one thing that I still love is if you get really clean crystal meth, it's very euphoric for the first 40 minutes. And I hate to be a dare program here where I'm explaining how good the drug is, but here we go. And so for that period, you can actually get very hyper focused on this ecstasy type of feeling. And it's not just a matter of being on the speed tweaking part of it. You're literally feeling something. It's an actual high when you're doing it in that specific way. If you're snorting it, it's not quite as intense. It's roughly equivalent to shooting it up when you smoke it. So the the ritual was intoxicating in itself. And then the effect of the ritual was that, I might want to go smoke a bunch of times during the day. So if Joe disappears for 3 or 4 hours, it's not uncommon. If I'm going to go run to the store to go feed my kids and I disappear for 2 hours, well, that happens. Maybe there was a long line. He's saying that he had to go to 3 different stores or whatever the excuse is, right?
Yeah.
I was in the bathroom at a Shell station down the street, or I was, on that empty block and in the cul-de-sac in my car, trying to hide the light from the flame and, just gone.
Those are sobering moments. Can we take a little pause? We'll take a little pause for a second because I just realized, I guess to record a full more than 10, 20 minutes, I got to upgrade to Pro. So I'm going to do that real quick. But you're with me here. So I'll edit this out when I get a chance. Whoops. But yeah, so.
That's what post is for, right?
Totally. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I have the suckiest desktop computer too. It's like got no memory and the kids are always downloading crap on it. So it's really sucky. Let's see here. It's always slowing on me. So are you still married?
No, we separated in 2007. Might as well have been divorced. We began custody, arrangements and child support and the whole thing, separate living areas and all of that. But we were essentially divorced since then, and we actually finished the divorce last year. Okay. So it wasn't official until about 8 months ago.
Okay.
But yeah, we have we've lived separate households for a long time, and then when the years leading up to me moving out here in 2012, we sort of reconciled. We had a really ugly separation at first, and custody and concerns. I had concerns, but those aren't my stories to share. And then Steph had her concerns about me as an addict, which were plainly obvious. But it was also right in the pit of my rock bottom. I would say early beginning of it. And during that time, it was it was just for her, there was no choice but to take the kids and, have lead custody or whatever. And I couldn't be trusted because I couldn't even take care of myself.
Wow. And that was back in 07?
'07, yeah. And
Wow.
that rock bottom lasted until basically I got this job out here. And
Uh-huh.
that was 2012, April of 2012.
Yeah, because I remember on Facebook seeing now you guys you met her in high school, correct?
Yeah.
She went to our school and everything, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have does she know me
Yeah.
very well? Because I don't remember her very
Not
much.
super good, but like she knew of you.
Okay.
She definitely
Yeah.
knew of you and
I
all
feel
that stuff.
terrible a lot of times. Yeah, I think it was a traumatic experience for me, high school. And I really think that I blocked a lot of things out. I
For
got bullied
sure.
a lot in middle school, like tons. But towards high school, I kind of just did my own thing. And my senior year,
Mm.
I had lost weight and I was on the hockey team and I was like the editor of the paper, so it was okay, but it
Mm.
definitely wasn't popular. And if I was, I didn't know it. So it wasn't like it wasn't fun.
Right. It wasn't Kelly Kapowski popular,
No, I was no.
but nobody really was. I mean, I take it back. There were several people who were like that, and they still go to reunions and whatnot. And that's cool for them. But for the rest of us '90s kids, that was not the way to be.
Did you go
You know?
to, I went to the 10-year reunion. Did you go to any of them? None of them?
No, at the time, I had beef with a couple people, and I didn't really want to go. And then by the time I did want to start going, I was too strung out on drugs to
Mm-hmm.
really make it work. And then nowadays, when I see the reunions, it's like, I don't know, 12 people, and it's basically ASB and the football team. So I'm like, well, I mean, like I feel like I'm kind of caught up.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
the Facebook pages, and I
Yeah.
if I wouldn't go meet up with them outside of this reunion, why would I go meet up with them during,
I feel the
like
same
this
way.
time?
Yeah.
And if it was like everybody was there, maybe that might be more appealing to me, like, like a movie reunion. That might
Mm-hmm.
be kind of cool. But
Yeah. 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 I think it's all just, that type of stuff is all just about, for show. It's not
uh,
real. It's just
it
all.
does seem a little bit, yeah, performative, and it's not really necessarily for me. That the way I feel is, I'm gonna be close with the people that I'm already close to, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
nice. But
Yeah, I agree. I think that, we should do our own thing, but I'm tend to tell you, I have serious regrets about being such a hermit and a loner most of the time in my life because I don't have any solid memories about high school.
mm,
And like you have these memories, and I'm a little jealous. I didn't even go to my prom. I mean, I think
I
the
didn't
last
go to prom.
you didn't go to it.
No,
Had
me
little
and some
Stephanie
friends
with you.
spent all night.
Go
We were
ahead.
doing we were doing massive amounts of speed that night. Like we took the yearbook and we would do these lines that went from corner to corner. Remember the yearbooks were really tall. So we went the longest possible on these yearbooks, and then
Uh-huh.
we think one of my friends had a stroke the next day, but
Oh my God. Oh,
it was
geez.
fine.
I hope you weren't doing coke over my face.
It was on the cover. It was
Oh,
on the
okay,
cover of
okay,
the back,
okay, okay.
not on
Yeah,
the pages. Because when you're
yeah.
chopping it up, you'll mess it up. So we put it on the cover. But
Well,
yeah.
yeah. I just wish I had more memories. And I went to one dance. I went to a middle school dance, and I
Oh,
remember,
really?
distinctly remember my outfit. It was a mint green shirt and jeans and overalls.
Oh, wow.
That was my
You're really
dance outfit.
going for the 80s, 90s looks there, aren't you?
Oh Lord! Now overalls are coming back though. Have you seen? They're coming back.
Yes.
Yeah. I know. And my daughter,
Cool.
like she wore one, and I said, "You got to take one strap off and hang it off." That's what we did.
And she's like, no, Mom, shut up.
I know. She's like, "You're such an idiot." I know.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I offered her my leather jacket. She got Converse, right? And I was like, "Oh, I wear Converse all the time." And I offered her my leather jacket, and she's like, "Ew, gross." I'm like,
Yeah, why would I? What are you
"What's
thinking,
wrong,
old lady?
dude? What's wrong
Yeah,
with the leather jacket? It's still
right?
cool." I don't know.
Like, no, no, you're not.
Anyway, my sobriety journey, and I kind of agree with you on your take on the word sober because I don't think I'm ever going to be sober. I don't think that that defines me. But I
Uh-huh.
do think that because I'm not giving up any substances in my life. I drink, I have caffeine I have caffeine a lot.
Sure.
Coke, coffee, anything I can get my hands on. I vape nicotine, I
There you
vape
go.
that a lot. I've been trying to quit for years. I just started about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
Um, I like alcohol. And although I haven't drank, I've had one cider in the new year. I did cheat. I don't think that it's something I necessarily want to give up, but I did notice towards the end of last year, I was like, I keep doing this, like drinking to just escape, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not helping. I have 2 kids, a messy house, a husband that can be a pain in the butt, not working, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not helping. So I thought maybe I'll just stop doing it for a while to see, and I'll see how far I could go. And as I did that, my head got a lot clearer, and I
Mm-hmm.
realized, using substances too much can be a bad thing. So I'm giving that a go. But I did do kind of an outpatient treatment a couple years
Oh.
ago for depression, anxiety, and abusing alcohol. I wouldn't call it
Mm-hmm.
rehab because it was like outpatient, but I did go to this. So I had about 3 months treatment there. And I did have a lot of group therapy, talking to people who had very serious substance abuse things. And I really realized that I have a deep connection to alcohol and
Mm-hmm.
using that to channel my better self. I mean, I don't know. How would you describe that? Like with you, what do you think you were doing with crystal meth and alcohol? Was it just crystal meth and alcohol, or was it other things?
Mostly those two. I have done lots of other things over my time, but generally, I think that for me, the conversation around addiction is a tricky one, and I think it's not very well understood. Society, I think in general has treated it like it's a dirty little secret, mostly because it's ugly, right? The addiction part of it comes to my I've come to the understanding that addiction, for what I believe most people, if not all people in the world, has to do with the fact that you're going to have addiction issues if you've had trauma. So if you've never had any trauma, you probably don't necessarily have any addiction problems.
Yeah.
But if you have had trauma, and I was going to cite my sources, but there's on the Rainn Wilson and Reza Aslan podcast, Metaphysical Milkshake. They've got an episode on addiction, and the speaker that they had actually hit on a lot of the same points that I found through my journey. But basically, the addiction part of it isn't about the substance at all. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
what it is. It can be porn, it can be Facebook, it can be, gambling, it can be, watching your neighbor mow their lawn. It doesn't matter what it is. It's if you have an itch, if you have um, a discomfort, and you try to sate it or fulfill it through some external means, you are doing an addiction basically.
Mhm.
At any point where you're trying to manipulate the inside from the outside, then you are engaging in an active addiction. And um, and that can show up in any kind of form. It can be in, watching TV or listening to music or podcasts, or doing comedy. It can be literally anything. Fill in the blank. If you're trying to manipulate yourself from the outside in, that's how it
Mhm.
works. And so I would say that for all of my life, it's been some form of something blurring into the next one. My most recent and most difficult to stop one happened to be my drug of choice. But there are other things where I'll find myself, shopping, and then as soon as I hit buy it on Amazon, I'm like, fuck, I feel empty now, because the thrill is gone now because it's already
Yeah.
done. It doesn't even matter that I don't even have it yet. It
Yeah.
was the thrill of the hunt of this is, I find myself verbalizing it this way: this is going to fix me.
Hmm.
And every time it's that, I realize that I'm engaging in addictive behavior.
Yeah.
And if I can stop that and realize that I'm either okay as is, or that nothing will fix it,
Hmm.
um, because those are kind of two different extremes to the same sort of result, then I'm good. If I can get to that sort of sense of calm, spirit release, whatever you want to call it. It's just kind of at that point now is when I don't have to worry about it. So along the way, certain substances have kind of come in and fulfilled the role in different places. Probably around, I want to say maybe 7 years ago, I started getting really bad vertigo. And this was after drinking events. And this is when I used to drink, like I would say like a normal person, I could have an excess of, 5 or 6 drinks and that'd be pushing it. But I could even get so much as to drink to the point where I've got like a full on hangover and all that other kind of stuff. But then I started getting these vertigo events, and the vertigo pumped the brakes on the alcohol for me completely. So that if I drank more than like 4 beers or 4 drinks period, like I'm going to have a bad time for the next 3 to 5 days. So it was like, all right, well, that is off the table now. I can't do that because, this 3 to 5 day misery sucks. So that slowed me down a lot, which was good because it just so happened that, that was shortly after I quit my drug of choice. And, through, displacement, I'm like, well, I'm gonna, you're on autopilot for the most part. So you fulfill that hole with something else.
Yeah.
And so I did start to drink a little bit more, or maybe a lot more, but not like a crazy person.
Okay.
And then it slowed me down, the vertigo. So then after that, it's basically been, a year or two of that vertigo. And it was long enough for me to develop and keep the habit that I'm never going to drink, even now, more than a few beers, maybe tops.
Yeah.
I might do that several nights or most of the nights of the week. But, for me to have literally one pint of something and just be like, I'm good, that's new. That's something that I didn't have before. And so to me, it's been, and I made attempts through my recovery process to fail forward, fail up. And so when something happens, some kind of adversity, like, oh shit, now I have vertigo. I'm like, well, what's good about this situation? I'm like, well, now I don't have to worry about abusing alcohol as a replacement drug for my other drug. So
yeah.
I don't really have that anymore, but I do find myself, compulsively, obsessively doing pretty much you name it. Everything that I've listed, except for gambling. I do everything kind of compulsively as well. Shopping has never been my thing. My mother-in-law loves to shop, and I think she gets a high off of it. There's constantly Amazon packages, but shopping has really never been my thing. But I think I go out to eat too much. I think that's my thing. I'll have a fridge full of food. I'm like, fuck it, let's just go get dinner. Let's go, anywhere. Yeah, no,
I don't care.
Same. I'll do that with food too. I'm like, and then I'm like pulling the Doritos, Doritos Locos Tacos towards me, and I'm like, this will fix me. And I'm like, stop.
Well, I love how you say this will fix me because I honestly, I'm trying to be honest because I do think I have an addictive personality. I do think that I can be very addictive when it comes to substances. And it was really during COVID that I think I started to really abuse alcohol more than I should have, because here we have the kids around all the time.
It's stressful.
I was struggling. I was struggling. Yeah. So, and I remember it was be like 11 a.m. and I would like have a shot and I'm like, oh my God, this is a bit much, but I got through the day,
Right.
And to be honest, of all the teachers I've ever met, elementary school teachers are the biggest alcoholics I've ever met. My God. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Sure.
So, but I like what you said because you mentioned 2 things. The first was you talked about trauma. And I think that's true. I think we all have trauma, and trauma doesn't always have to be entirely hugely traumatic. Trauma can just be, something that we haven't been able to process somehow, that we can't get through. And I think that's what the substances do, whether it be the alcohol or, the funner one. Man, you were way cooler in your drugs than I was. Those ones, they really, they fill that hole, and you don't have to deal with it. So once that's gone, all of a sudden, this is it. We got to deal with it. And I think Mark Maron said that once on his podcast. He talked about sobriety because he's been sober for like 20 years. And he talks about how like he still goes to AA meetings, but eventually you kind of look around and you're like, this is it. And honestly, we
Yeah.
all need to be there. It's boring sometimes. It's, it's uncomfortable, but we all have to go through
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah, I
I
think
don't think
for
we're all,
addicts especially,
what's
you
that?
have to, for addicts especially, you have to embrace the bullshit, the drudgery. The more boring it is, the better, because for our chaos seeking brains, it
Mhm.
tends to be find the thing that'll give you the excuse to get the discomfort, to get the drug, that, you know what I mean? It's like you find
Mhm.
yourself self-sabotaging in that way. And then my other thought about trauma is, like you said, and like how I kind of agree, everybody has it, is that I have a theory about trauma, and that it's like a gas, and it fills the room, and it doesn't matter what the discomfort or the trauma is. If you're a billionaire and the slightest thing doesn't go your way, that the gas will fill the room, and that will be your trauma. And it doesn't matter that it's not significant. What
Mhm.
matters is that its impact on you is as big as, only the walls can hold it in. It's a 10, 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
So
it's a good way to
yeah.
describe it. Yeah. Because I've known people that their trauma is simply like not having friendships. I have a friend who's in his 50s and who has never had sex, not
Mm-hmm.
by choice necessarily. And I think that his trauma is really in not really having that kind of intimate relationship. He's married now, but he still has not had sex. I don't know if I have time to go into the full extent of that. They've
Sure.
had, I guess they mess around, but he has never actually had actual sex. And I do
Right.
think that that is a trauma, even though it's not something that physically happened to him, not something. I think that it's a trauma with him. And I think that, and he's never really had super close relationships with women. So even if he didn't have sex, he's never really had solid, relationships. So I think that that
Intimacy.
affects him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it can be anything. I mean, I think for
Yeah.
me, high school, I probably just needed more intimate relationships and more close friendships because man, I don't remember anything. So it must have been traumatic for me. I must have blocked it out, which
I
sucks.
think so. It does, but it's kind of, it's about meeting you where you're at. And that when you're, I feel like when you're kind of doing that sort of damage control of trauma, facing your
Mhm.
traumas, it's always about, what, yeah, it does suck, but like we can acknowledge it, and we can, you can meet past self where that person was at, and
Mhm.
kind of deal with it in a way, because the you now is better than the you then in almost all cases.
Mhm.
So at the very least, you can go into it with some experience and stuff.
Yeah. Your phone ringing? I think I heard it vibrate, right?
Did. It's fine.
You got to go in a minute?
No, I'm
You have
okay.
to go? Oh, okay. Yeah, so maybe about 10 or 15 more minutes we can chat. But
Sure.
yeah, I think we hit the nail on the head. We talked about it. Honestly, as far as we've been talking about it, I don't know if we're really the poster people for sobriety. I mean, I don't know. We're kind of talking, do you still go to meetings or have you gone to
No,
them?
no,
Have you gone
I
to any
don't go to
treatment?
meetings anymore. I've done a bunch of different types of things. I've done a lot of um, uh, self-help. I've done uh, not a lot of NA, but enough to know that it's not quite the thing for me. The I understand the purpose for it, and I think that there's definitely a benefit to it for most people. I think that for me in my current state in recovery, I don't feel like it's what I need.
Hmm.
So I just stopped going. But
Hmm.
for people, I want to recommend that if anybody's out there still suffering, if you are an extrovert, if you feel good or you feel recharged around people, go to an NA, go to an AA. I like NA better because they take the substance out of the situation. They don't
Hmm.
care if it's heroin or crack or coke or fucking speed or whatever. And so you can kind of put whatever your thing of choice is in there. It can be, you know, um, eating for comfort. It can be, competitive shopping like me because I want to find the best price because I want to save money or whatever it is.
Hmm.
It can be gambling. It doesn't matter, but you can still go there and have the same principles and apply it in the same way. And I only realized that after my second recommendation, which is If you're not sure if you're ready for recovery, for anybody who might be listening, pick up the Russell Brand book called Recovery.
Oh, I got that one. Yeah.
If
I
you've
haven't
read
finished
it,
it yet. Hmm.
great. If you don't like reading, get the audiobook. It is a bit floral. It is a bit the language is a little bit of prose, and so it can be sometimes hard to get through, but it's very straightforward and it's very, very easy. I think it's written to a very common denomination for most people to be able to say, oh yeah, I see how that can be me, and how this can, this can impact me and give me a good clear path to a solution without a lot of the hangups that the organizations of NA or AA bring with it, because there's a bit of formality, and for people like me who are agnostic or atheist minded people or anti-religious people, also like me, there's an element of there's a communal element to it that's negative in
Yeah.
terms of the way that things are repetitive and a bit dogmatic and a bit sort of well, that's what it says in the book and you got to follow the book type of thing.
Yeah.
When you're like, those are just fucking words though, and like, what about reality? This thing was written in 1930s or whatever, and they're like, yeah, but the book, and it's like, well, but real life though. So
Yeah.
there's a time and a place for all of it, I think, but the principles I think are pretty sound, and if you can work your way through the majority, if not all of the steps, then I think that can actually be very helpful for somebody who's ready for recovery.
I 100% agree with you on that. And my husband's gone to a lot of AA meetings. I never went to the AA meetings, but I do think that those types of groups are good because honestly, it's a very isolating kind of thing, when you're going through any type of addiction and addiction, we're all addicted to something, but it's just this process of realizing that we're turning to it to function, which can be destructive. And that's where I was at, last year, because that was a very stressful year. And I just thought, let me try to stop this. And instantly I felt better. But going to those meetings, I think, can be really good because you don't feel alone. And listening to the people talk about their bullshit can actually be very stimulating, I do agree with you on the dogmatic aspect. But I think that if you look culturally in anything in our world, there's always a type of dogmatic aspect in our world. You can be an atheist, agnostic person, and you might worship Star Wars, you know what I mean? Or something like that. There's
You
always
have
something.
to be a little, you have to get creative with your higher power aspect. Once you do latch into something, because we're all connected to something that's bigger than us. It doesn't have to be Jesus or Muhammad or whatever. It can be other things, and my higher power is very personal to me, but it's certainly not a theistic religion. So it can be done, and that's a good way to go. But like you're saying, hearing yourself in others and being able to say like, oh yeah, you fuck up, just do this, this, and this, and you're like, oh wait, that's me.
Exactly.
Having
Exactly.
that aha moment during those meetings is actually pretty cool, because you're like, I guess it does kind of work. And even if
really
it doesn't
does.
work the first time, repetition will get you where you need to be.
Yeah, I really recommend it. And I understand exactly your approach because I had that same way. I've always been kind of I'm not agnostic, but I'm definitely not very religious. And I don't really like anything that has that approach. One of my first jokes was when I was in Hollywood. I used to wait on a AA group. I think Sunday or Monday mornings. And, they talk about the higher power. And I made the joke that, my higher power was alcohol, which I thought was funny at the time, but it's probably been a joke that's been used, I'm sure. I also had a joke about what did Jesus say when he masturbated too, which
nice. What did he say?
Does he say, oh God? Because that's his dad. So,
right.
God. So lame. Oh my God. Yeah. Let me go through all my.
That would have been good enough. That would have done well on an open mic.
I did that joke. That was a Jesus masturbation joke. My 20s. Anyway, right. I drank a lot of alcohol back then.
Right. That'll either clear the room or, everybody will be clapping because if they're, kind of sick.
I don't know. I'm not a stand-up for a reason, but I think I'm a pretty good comedy writer. when given the chance. But then my life kind of shits on me. I never get a chance to do anything like this
Sure.
podcast. I've been trying to launch this podcast for like 2 years, and
Oh wow.
now it's like 2023, and I tried in 2020. So
Mm.
whatever. But at least we got something.
Right there.
It's going okay.
Yep.
So yeah, I think we hit it on the head. Honestly, I could chat all day about just any old thing. I'm bummed Christy didn't come. He did text me. Did you message him?
I didn't know.
Okay, he did text me. He sent me a text. He said, "Yo," and he said he's been shoveling snow all day because he lives in Lake Arrowhead. So
It's funny. I thought about snow, so maybe that's what did it.
but yeah, he
I had a
messaged me.
picture of snow in my mind, and then maybe he was like, "Oh shit, I need to text someone."
Do you have many memories of him in high school, Christy?
No,
You don't
I
have any?
don't. Little to none.
Okay, because
No.
he was a year behind us too. So we were 96, right? Well, you were 96, I meant. Okay, and he was, I think,
Yeah.
97.
I had a lot of friends in the 95, 90, 94, 95, 96 areas. So by the time I was coming into graduation that year of 96, I was like I could have just gone at the semester and graduated, but not walked. And I was like, that's stupid. I might as well
Yeah.
just slow down my classes to a crawl and, leave half day or something and just stretch it out to the end of the year. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was very into my own world at the time. I was very interested in my relationships and my extracurriculars, drugs and music and stuff like that. So
Mhm. Did you have a band
I
back then?
yeah, we did have a band for a couple of years there. Our relationships got kind of strained at the time. I think that there was some competition between my romantic relationship and the band relationship, and I feel like those didn't necessarily work well together. So it was kind of at one point, pick a lane, and I did.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
right, wrong, or otherwise, that's what happened.
Was that Stephanie or was it someone else at the time?
Yeah, no, that was Stephanie.
She's Yoko, basically. Broke up the
uh,
band.
I don't think she broke up the band. I think we would have broken up anyways. There were a lot of strong feelings in that band. We're
Okay.
a bunch of very emotional men,
Okay.
and it was, I think, bound to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I would
I
have been
still talk to some of those guys,
Who? Give me a name.
like Olin and Dante Giab.
Nope. Doesn't ring a bell.
Probably
Don't know.
remember you. Olin was a total social
Oh,
butterfly.
Olin. Was he the one that went out with Christy?
Maybe he went out with a bunch of people. He was with
Because I think he went out with Christy. He went to RCC, right? Olin Gieb, you said? Yeah, I know him. He's super cool. I wrote a story on him at RCC because he was just really friendly, and I had to do a story on somebody. So yeah,
Very
he's a cool
friendly.
guy. But yeah, he went out with Christy, I remember. So yeah, Christy Blake. And Christy Blake went out with everybody in high school. Every single
me.
guy went out with Christy Blake. I was jealous. Christy, if you're listening, I'm jealous. Just so you know. That's the only reason I bring it up. So yeah, I do have some fond memories. You said you knew people from 95. Did you know Isaiah Aiken?
The name sounds familiar. I'd probably recognize the face.
He was a Jewish kid. He used to wear his yarmulke.
Oh, with the
all
yarmulke.
the time.
Yeah,
He
I
was
do
my
remember
best
him.
friend. He was my absolute best friend. We were in high school.
Really?
With the newspaper staff together. Yeah. And when we were
fun.
16, I was in love with comedian Tom Rhodes. And we went when I was 16 and he was, I guess, 17. We went to San Francisco so I could go see Tom Rhodes do stand up. And we stayed at a hostel there. And it was awesome. It was so cool. I was like in love with
That
like hippie
sounds fun.
culture and stuff. And I saw Tom Rhodes. Yeah. He was just incredible. He was like my Jim Morrison of comedy. Do you remember what he looked like back in the day with the long hair? The
I
hippie long
don't
hair?
know.
Oh, I gotta send you a picture. Yeah, he was a babe back in the day. But yeah, I was like 16, I dressed like Annie Hall, my little boy outfit. It was a good time. It was a good time. But yeah, so thanks for talking to me with today. And yeah, well, I'll give a listen and I'll see if we missed anything. I have a hunch we might have, because this is my first show and I didn't have any notes ready. But I think we got some good points. How do you feel about it?
I think we emulated the Mark Maron style perfectly.
That's what I was
We
going
did
for.
the, start at the beginning and move your way to the end. And then there were a couple of things that I wanted to make sure that I got
Did you
mentioned
get
as well.
everything out? Because if you feel like you need to discuss something, let me know. Is there everything you
Yeah,
got
no,
out? Okay.
I definitely wanted to talk about some of my ideas that are not super popular, or maybe I don't know if they're not well known or talked about, but I just did to discuss the things that I wanted to talk about. So
Okay. So
I feel good.
as far as verbiage for what you're describing, you would describe yourself as in recovery, right?
Mhm.
Which is a time period that really doesn't have a definition.
Never ends.
And yeah, and you wouldn't say sober, you would say clean.
I would never say sober. Yes, I hate the
Okay.
word. I would say I'm clean from my drug of choice. That's
Okay.
my preferred verbiage, my preferred language around my condition, because, you know, I'm not an alcoholic at all, but I do
Mhm.
like to drink. I don't smoke any weed, and I don't really do anything else. I mean, outside of the obvious drugs for, like, high blood pressure or whatever. But
Mhm.
I'm not getting high off of that stuff. But yeah, I can't smoke weed. It makes me throw up, and you know. Well, it's funny because it's not all weed. It's just there's certain kinds. Maybe it's the terpenes, or maybe it's the variety of weed or whatever. But randomly, it would just make me throw up like a fire hose. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to play that, the Russian roulette with my,
Mhm. Mhm.
I want to kill my high and vomit everywhere. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be done. It's
Yeah.
not worth it. So
Yeah.
so just a little bit of drinking and a lot of, I'm still creatively working on this fantasy situation where someday someone will let me smoke a whole bunch of crystal meth for some reason,
For like a
and it'll be
scientific
okay to do it.
research.
Right. Like they'll be like, we need to stay up for 4 days straight. And I'm like, yes, sir. And I'll go do it for them. And, it'll save the world or something. I don't know. I haven't really worked it all out, but in my
Yeah.
head, I reserve a place for that.
Well, I think the thing that you can get in being in recovery and being clean is that there's ways to enjoy life and have fun without it. It is kind of
Mhm.
a bummer, because it's like it's so extreme, like when you use a substance, it's fun, it's an adventure, it's so much fun. I mean, there's not any one person that wouldn't love just to go, get high or get drunk, it's a good social thing too. And when
Right.
we don't do that, we're just left with ourselves and it's a little awkward, but if you get through that awkward moment, you can get to the part that you're trying to get to, you know.
I guess that does bring up a good um, point about maybe something we haven't really touched too much on, but it's that being clean is good,
Yeah.
and that I don't think we've really talked about the upside of it as much as probably we could have. But bottom line is that that in your addiction, in my addiction, I was able to conveniently forget about all the things that make me feel good. And then when I wasn't high, for example, and I would go to the playground with my kids and they're laughing their ass off and having a good time, and I'm just annoyed,
Mm-hmm.
like that is literally the worst feeling in the world. Or the second worst feeling in the world is feeling nothing at all. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the result of all of this abuse. And now that I'm clean, I can actually, I have room for those feelings. I have room for those experiences. Even if it's the drudgery of, like doing the dishes today, I'm like, I part of the mindset of being in recovery is to be present in what you're doing. And it's not just about like, oh, I got to do these fucking dishes. It's about, well, I'm going to clean these things off so that my kids can have a nice, like they can go into the cabinet and get, like a clean bowl and clean spoons and go have their cereal or whatever. And that's like that kind of, those little things are kind of, they end up being a lot, but at the time, especially in your addiction, they couldn't be any less important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, it's about the drudgery, and it's about doing the work, and it's not sexy at all. But
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is that you can actually live a completely happy and fulfilling life in recovery. And the addict brain in you is like, nah, shit's gonna be fucking boring, and you're gonna hate it, and you know Do you remember not being high? That sucked. And it's very seductive.
Yeah.
You get locked into a way of thinking that really only supports one way of living, and that way of living you already know sucks.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get lost in that, that toxic mentality. But
Yeah.
yeah, being clean is great, and it's I wouldn't have any of the things that I have now if I wasn't. And if I had them, I wouldn't be able to enjoy them, because you become so single-minded about your finding the thing to fix it. If is it going out and fucking people, is it gambling, is it going down the scrolling of the feed, is it whatever it is. And it's just that just makes the problem worse.
Yeah. 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 Well, for me, I think drinking has just become too much of a go-to for me, being a struggling mom. I mean, I've completely lost, my personality. And I think having a few drinks at night has just always been a way for me to kind of escape. And honestly, I don't think I'm that bad. I'm a 4-drink drunk. So I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's that bad. I'm 5'2". So I really don't think that that's bad. But at the same time, maybe when I'm pouring those drinks, I'm not always noticing how much. I think in recovery, when I did the outpatient, I think I had to measure, just the
Mm-hmm.
psychologist told me to measure how much. And I think I did notice they were double shot drinks, because I wasn't
Yeah.
quite noticing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I had
So
to do that once for a
yeah.
while. And it
So
was
that
funny
can,
because I was such an asshole about it. I was like, here it is. It's way up at the top, and then the next drink is down here at the bottom in the middle or whatever. And it's like, I don't give a shit. Yeah, I drink the whole bottle. So what?
exactly. But yeah, my husband can drink, like, I'll get those gallon things of rum, he'll go through like 3/4 of that shit. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I would be dead if I drank that
Mm-hmm.
much in one thing. So like, yeah, but I still am overdoing it for who I am. And that was a thing that I really noticed. And so I think the takeaway is it's okay to be boring. It's okay to have those little successes like doing the dishes and,
Mm-hmm.
and paying a bill on time and keeping a job and,
Yeah.
going to work, taking your kids out to the park, hearing them laugh, not being irritating and wanting to drink, instead when they
Yeah.
scream, just getting through it.
That problem, that man, that was a big one for me.
Oh my
Um,
God.
which reminds me, actually, one thing we didn't talk about is triggers. I don't know if you want to get into that or not, but
We can maybe talk. I'm going to probably listen to what we did. And if
let me
we
know.
forgot, yeah, we might even redo it if I think it might need it, but I can always edit it. So, but
Sure.
triggers are great. Yeah. And we can always do another one too. We'll see
Yeah.
how it goes.
We'll
But
save
yeah,
it for the next one.
yeah, yeah. But we'll see. But thanks, Joey. It was really fun to talk to you and hang out.
Cool. I'm glad. It was
Yeah.
good to talk to you too.
It was good to talk to you too. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Okay. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye. That was really fun to listen to. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It is now evening. I've been listening to the show consecutively since I did the intro on here. And if you remember, if you're watching on YouTube, there was sun shining on my face earlier, and now it's dark. It is evening, and my kids are in bed. I've been doing mom stuff all day, cooking dinner, cleaning, various things that they asked me for. Mom, where's my toy? Mom, where's my shoe? And all that stuff. And I'm ready to call it a day, but I very much enjoyed listening to that. Now, if you enjoyed Lisa Phil's podcast, there will be more. Trust me, because I have lots of moods, as do you. And I'm already working on episode 2. I can't wait. It's going to be a very, very fun show, also with a Facebook friend. But this one is a bit of a rebel, so I hope you enjoy that one. Now, if you did like it, you need to head over to my Instagram, at Lisa Feels Podcast, is where you can reach me. On there, I have a link to my website, which will have all my podcast episodes, my blogs, things like that. For every episode, I do a little music video, which is really cute, featuring a song that goes along with the mood. For Lisa Feels Sober, I use Call Me When You're Sober by Evanescence. And I hope you liked it. I don't think I'm going to lip sync to every music video that I do, but I did on this one and I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Also, if you want to support little old me and the podcast, because it's not free to do this. There's a cost for the website. There's a cost for my Buzzsprout subscription, yada, yada. You can be a Patreon member, which helps me out, all those little costs. If you head over to patreon.com, Lisa Feels Podcast, /Lisa Feels Podcast, you can help me out. There's various tiers and there's little features you get. I'll be blogging on Patreon and I'll be giving you special shout outs on the website and on my podcast. So stay tuned for episode 2 and please subscribe. I enjoy doing this podcast very much. And I hope that you, as well as I, have much more to feel in the future. Bye.
I'm a rebel just for kicks.